Hey everyone, welcome back to the Personal Growth Talks podcast. I'm Jason, and I'm really happy you're here with us today. And Julia, I have a question for you. Have you ever made a promise to yourself and said, "Tomorrow I'm going to wake up early, exercise, study, read a book, stop wasting time on my phone, and finally become a disciplined person"?
Oh, Jason, absolutely. And the funny thing is, when I make that promise at night, I feel incredibly motivated. I imagine myself waking up early, drinking my water, exercising, reading, working, and becoming this amazingly organized person. But then morning comes, my alarm rings, and suddenly my brain says, maybe tomorrow would be a better day to start.
Exactly. And that is what we're talking about today. Because what if discipline doesn't have to feel like punishment? What if you could actually train your brain to enjoy discipline instead of constantly fighting yourself?
Now that sounds interesting. Because if we can make our brains like doing the right things, maybe discipline won't feel like such a daily battle.
That's the idea. So today, we're going to talk about how to trick your brain into liking discipline with simple strategies you can actually use in your everyday life. So, Julia, before we start talking about tricks and strategies, I think we need to clear up one important misunderstanding about discipline. A lot of people believe that disciplined people simply have more willpower than everyone else. They think these people wake up every morning feeling excited to exercise, study, work, or do something difficult. But honestly, I don't think that's how it works.
I agree. I think we sometimes look at someone who exercises every morning or studies every day and think, wow, they must really love discipline. But we don't see the moments when they feel tired, bored, lazy, or tempted to stay in bed and watch videos for another hour.
Exactly. Discipline doesn't mean you always feel motivated. It means you learn how to take action even when motivation is not there. And the good news is that your brain can actually learn to make this process easier.
So we're not going to tell people, just be stronger or just try harder.
No. Instead, we're going to show you how to work with your brain instead of against it. We'll talk about making difficult habits smaller, creating quick wins, giving yourself rewards, and building routines that eventually start to feel natural.
And I love that, because the goal isn't to become a perfect person tomorrow. The goal is to make one small change today, repeat it tomorrow, and slowly teach your brain, hey, I actually like doing this.
Exactly. And once your brain begins to connect discipline with progress, satisfaction, and confidence, something interesting starts to happen. Discipline becomes less of a fight and more of a habit.
All right, Jason, I'm ready. Let's teach our brains some new tricks.
All right, Julia. Let's start with a simple question. Why do we hate discipline so much? I mean, we know that exercise is good for us. We know reading is good for us. We know studying is good for us. And we know spending 3 hours scrolling on our phones probably isn't helping us reach our goals. So, why do we still choose the easy things so often?
Honestly, Jason, I think our brains are professional comfort seekers. If my brain has two choices, one option is sitting on the couch, watching videos, and eating something delicious. And the other option is getting up, exercising, and becoming a better person. My brain sometimes says, Julia, I think we both know which choice is better for our happiness right now.
Exactly. And there's an important reason for that. Your brain naturally looks for things that feel easy, comfortable, and rewarding. It doesn't always care about what will make your life better 6 months from now. It often cares about what feels good right now.
That explains a lot. Because when I say, I should exercise today, my brain thinks about the effort. I have to change clothes, get ready, move my body, and actually exercise. But when I say, I'll watch just one short video, my brain says, perfect, no preparation required.
Exactly. And this is why discipline can feel like a battle. We're asking our brains to choose a difficult reward in the future instead of an easy reward right now. The problem isn't necessarily that you are lazy or weak. Your brain is simply following the easiest path it can find.
So when someone says, I'm just not a disciplined person, that may not be completely true.
Not at all. Discipline is something you can train. And instead of constantly fighting your brain, we can make good choices easier, smaller, and more rewarding.
So the goal isn't to say, brain, stop being lazy.
Exactly. The goal is to say, brain, let's make this easy enough that you actually want to start.
Okay, now I'm listening. Because if there's a way to make discipline easier without fighting myself every morning, I definitely want to know it.
So, Julia, here's our first big trick. If you want your brain to like discipline, stop making the beginnings so difficult. We often look at a goal and immediately imagine the biggest version of it. We say, I'm going to exercise for 1 hour every morning, or I'm going to study English for 2 hours every day, or I'm going to read 50 pages before bed. And honestly, those goals sound great. But sometimes they are so big that our brain gets tired before we even begin.
I know that feeling. Sometimes I don't even start because I'm already thinking about how much work the whole thing will take. I tell myself, I need to clean my entire room. And suddenly, my brain becomes very creative. It says, maybe we should first check our phone for 5 minutes. Then 5 minutes becomes 30 minutes, and somehow I'm watching a video about a cat opening a refrigerator.
Exactly. So instead of asking your brain to complete the entire task, give it a tiny first step. If you want to exercise, tell yourself, I'll exercise for 5 minutes. If you want to read, say, I'll read 2 pages. If you want to practice English, say, I'll speak English for 5 minutes.
And here's the interesting part. Once you start, you often want to continue. 5 minutes of exercise can become 15 or 20 minutes. 2 pages can become 10 pages. 5 minutes of English practice can turn into a much longer conversation.
Exactly. The hardest part is often not doing the habit. The hardest part is starting the habit. So make starting ridiculously easy.
So basically, we're not trying to trick our brain into doing an enormous amount of work. We're saying, hey, brain, this is tiny. You can handle this.
Yes. And there's another powerful idea here. Lower the number of decisions you have to make. If you want to exercise in the morning, put your workout clothes next to your bed the night before. If you want to read, put your book somewhere you can easily see it. If you want to study, prepare your desk before you go to sleep.
That makes sense. You're making the good choice easier before you even need discipline.
Exactly. Real discipline isn't always about forcing yourself harder. Sometimes it's about designing your environment so the right action becomes the easy action.
I like that. Make it small, make it easy, and make it ready.
Perfect. And once you start collecting those small wins, your brain begins to think, hey, maybe this discipline thing isn't so bad after all. Now let's talk about something really powerful. Small wins. Because once you make a habit easy enough to start, the next step is to give your brain a reason to feel good about completing it. You don't need to achieve something huge every day. In fact, sometimes the smallest victories are the ones that help you build the strongest discipline.
I love that idea because I think we often make ourselves feel like failures by looking at the biggest goal instead of noticing the little things we actually did. For example, someone might say, "I only studied English for 10 minutes today. That's nothing." But 10 minutes is still 10 minutes more than doing nothing.
Exactly. Imagine someone wants to become healthier. They don't have to start by running 10 kilometers, completely changing their diet and exercising for 2 hours every day. They could simply walk for 10 minutes today. Then tomorrow, they walk again. After a few days, they might naturally want to walk longer.
And then one day they look back and realize, wait a minute, I'm actually becoming someone who exercises regularly. That feels very different from saying, I'm trying to become disciplined.
Yes, that feeling of progress is extremely important. Every time you complete a small task, you prove something to yourself. I can keep a promise to myself, and that builds confidence.
So the small win isn't only about the task itself. It's also about changing the way you see yourself.
Exactly. If you study English for 10 minutes every day, you're not just learning English. You're becoming a person who practices consistently. If you read 2 pages every night, you're becoming a reader. If you exercise for 5 minutes every morning, you're becoming someone who takes care of their body.
That's powerful. Because sometimes we think we need motivation before we take action. But maybe action can create motivation.
Absolutely. You take a small action, you get a small win. The small win gives you confidence, and that confidence makes the next action easier.
So instead of waiting to feel motivated, we can create motivation by simply doing something small.
Exactly. And remember this, don't make your small win too small to matter. Make it small enough to repeat. The goal isn't to impress yourself for one day. The goal is to give your brain evidence day after day that you are becoming more consistent.
Small action, small win, more confidence. And then another small action.
Yes, that's how discipline starts becoming a part of who you are. Now we've made the habits smaller, and we've started collecting small wins. But there's another powerful way to teach your brain to enjoy discipline. Make the process rewarding. Because if every disciplined action feels like punishment, your brain is naturally going to look for an escape.
Absolutely. If you tell yourself, every time I study, I'm going to sit in a boring room for 2 hours and stare at a textbook, your brain might start running away before you even open the book. But what if you made the experience a little more enjoyable?
Exactly. For example, if you enjoy coffee, you could make your morning study session feel special by preparing your favorite coffee before you begin. If you like music, you could listen to calm, instrumental music while you work. If you enjoy walking, you could listen to an interesting English podcast while you walk.
Wait, I like that one. So instead of thinking, I have to exercise, I could think, I get to listen to my favorite podcast while I exercise.
Exactly. You're connecting something you already enjoy with something that requires discipline. That makes the habit feel less like a chore and more like something you look forward to.
But there's something else I think people forget. Sometimes the reward doesn't have to be something you buy or eat. The feeling of finishing something can be a reward by itself.
That's a very important point. After you finish a difficult task, take a moment to recognize it. Say to yourself, I did it. I kept my promise. That simple moment of recognition can help you build a positive connection with the habit.
So instead of immediately saying, okay, what's next? I still have 100 things to do. We should sometimes stop and appreciate the progress.
Exactly. Your brain needs evidence that your effort is leading somewhere. Keep a simple checklist. Mark the days you complete your habit, or write down one thing you accomplished each day.
And I think rewards can also make discipline more personal. Maybe after finishing your weekly goals, you can give yourself some relaxing time, watch a movie, meet a friend, or do something you genuinely enjoy.
Yes, as long as the reward supports your goals rather than completely destroying your progress. You don't want to say, I exercised for 30 minutes, so now I deserve to spend 5 hours scrolling on my phone.
Exactly! That sounds less like a reward and more like a carefully planned disaster.
The key is simple. Make the right action feel good. Notice your progress, and give yourself something positive to look forward to. When your brain starts connecting discipline with satisfaction instead of suffering, consistency becomes much easier.
So we're teaching our brain a new message. Discipline doesn't mean I'm losing something. Discipline means I'm gaining something.
Exactly. And that mindset can completely change the way you approach your goals. Okay, Julia, we've talked about the ideas, but I think this is where things get really interesting. Let's take these strategies and put them into real life, because knowing what to do is one thing, but actually using it when you're tired, busy, or distracted is completely different.
Exactly. Let's say someone wants to start exercising. They make a huge plan and say, from tomorrow, I'm going to work out for 1 hour every morning. That sounds very impressive on day one, but after a few difficult mornings, they might start thinking, maybe I'll exercise tomorrow.
Right. Instead, make the first step tiny. Say, tomorrow I'll put on my workout clothes and exercise for 5 minutes. That sounds almost too easy, but that's exactly the point. You're teaching your brain that exercise doesn't have to be a huge, painful event.
Okay, what about someone who wants to improve their English? Because I know a lot of learners who say, I'll study English for 2 hours every day, and then they feel disappointed when they can't keep that schedule.
The same idea works perfectly. Start with 10 minutes. Read a short English story, listen to a podcast, learn 5 useful phrases, or speak aloud for 5 minutes. And here's the important part. Don't focus only on how much you learned. Celebrate the fact that you showed up and practiced.
I like that. What about reading? Someone might want to read 20 pages every night, but feel too tired after a long day.
Tell yourself, I only need to read 2 pages. Put the book next to your bed so you don't have to search for it. Then, after those 2 pages, if you feel like continuing, keep going. If you don't, you still completed the habit.
And waking up early is probably one of the biggest battles for people. How do we trick the brain there?
Don't suddenly decide to wake up 2 hours earlier and expect your brain to celebrate. Start gradually. Prepare everything the night before. Put your alarm away from your bed and give yourself something enjoyable to look forward to in the morning. Maybe a favorite drink, a quiet breakfast, a walk, or 10 minutes of reading.
So you're giving your brain a reason to say, okay, getting up isn't so bad.
Exactly. And let's take one more example, reducing phone use. If you tell yourself, I will never use my phone again, that probably won't work very well. Instead, choose one small period, maybe 30 minutes before bed, when you put your phone somewhere away from you.
And maybe replace that habit with something enjoyable, like reading, talking with family, stretching, or simply relaxing without a screen.
Exactly. The secret in all these examples is the same. Make the good habit easy to start. Make the environment support it. Notice your small wins, and give your brain something positive to connect with the habit.
So discipline doesn't have to mean waking up every morning and fighting yourself.
No. It can mean creating a system where the better choice becomes easier and more natural.
And honestly, that sounds much more realistic.
It is. You don't need to completely change your life tonight. You just need to make tomorrow's good choice a little easier than today's. Now let's talk about one of my favorite methods for building discipline, the don't break the chain method. The idea is incredibly simple. You choose one habit, and every day you complete it, you mark it on a calendar. It could be a check mark, an X, a sticker, or anything that clearly shows you, I did it today.
I actually love this because there's something satisfying about seeing a row of successful days. At first, you might have one little check mark, then two, then three, and suddenly you have a whole week of progress sitting right in front of you.
Exactly. And once you see that chain growing, you naturally want to protect it. If you've practiced English for 7 days in a row, you don't want to be the person who says, well, I guess I'll skip today. You start thinking, no, I've already built this. I want to keep it going.
But I think we need one important rule here. Don't turn the chain into another reason to feel guilty. Because life happens. You might get sick, travel, become extremely busy, or simply have a difficult day.
Absolutely. Missing one day does not mean you failed. The real danger is missing one day and then thinking, well, I already ruined everything, so I might as well stop. That's the trap.
So if you miss a day, don't miss two.
Exactly. That's the mindset. You're not trying to create a perfect record. You're trying to build a pattern of returning to the habit.
And maybe that's actually a better definition of discipline. Not never falling off track, but learning how to get back on track quickly.
I love that. So choose one small habit, track it every day, celebrate your growing chain. And if you miss a day, simply start again the next day.
One small habit, one day at a time. And whatever you do,
Don't break the chain. All right, Julia. We've talked about making habits easier, creating small wins, rewarding ourselves, and building a daily chain. But now I think it's time to stop talking and actually do something. So, everyone listening right now, I have a simple challenge for you.
oh, I like this. And please don't make it one of those challenges where you suddenly have to wake up at 5 in the morning, run 10 kilometers, read a whole book, and completely change your life in 7 days.
Don't worry, we're keeping this simple. Here's your 7-day discipline challenge. Choose one habit that you genuinely want to build, but make it so small that you have almost no excuse not to do it.
For example, if you want to read more, read just 2 pages a day. If you want to exercise, exercise for 5 minutes. If you want to practice English, speak English aloud for 5 minutes. If you want to write, write just 3 sentences.
Exactly. Then choose a specific time for that habit. Don't just say, I'll do it sometime tomorrow. Give it a place in your day. Maybe right after breakfast, after work, before bed, or immediately after you wake up.
And make the habit visible. Put a calendar somewhere you can see it, and every time you complete your habit, put a big check mark on that day.
Yes. And for these 7 days, forget about being perfect. Your only goal is to show up. Even if you have a busy day, even if you feel tired, even if your motivation disappears, do the smallest version of your habit.
And remember, if you miss one day, don't turn one missed day into one missed week. Just come back the next day and continue.
Exactly. So, before you finish this episode, choose your one habit. Make it tiny. Choose your time. Prepare your environment. And start your 7-day chain today.
And when you complete day 7, don't just celebrate the habit. Celebrate the fact that you proved something important to yourself. You can keep a promise to yourself.
That's the real challenge. Not becoming perfect. Not becoming superhuman. just becoming a little more consistent than you were yesterday.
All right, everyone. Your 7 days start now.
Julia, I think there's one final idea we really need to leave with everyone today. Maybe discipline isn't about becoming a person who never feels lazy, tired, distracted, or unmotivated. Maybe discipline is about learning how to take the next small step even when you don't feel like taking it.
I love that because we often wait for the perfect feeling before we act. We say, when I feel motivated, I'll exercise. When I have more energy, I'll study. When I have more time, I'll start. But if we keep waiting for the perfect moment, we might wait forever.
Exactly. The real mindset shift is this. Stop asking, do I feel like doing this? And start asking, what is the smallest action I can take right now?
And that small action might seem almost meaningless in the moment. But when you repeat it every day, it starts changing your life.
Yes, 5 minutes of English becomes weeks of practice. 2 pages of reading become books. A short walk becomes a healthier routine. One small promise kept becomes confidence in yourself.
So maybe the goal isn't to trick your brain forever. The goal is to train it until the things that once felt difficult start feeling normal.
Exactly. Make it easy. Start small. Reward progress. Repeat consistently. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like something you have to force and starts becoming part of who you are.
And that might be the biggest trick of all.
Absolutely. You don't need to become a completely different person tomorrow. Just give yourself one small promise today and keep it.
Well, Jason, I think our brains just got a little smarter today. And hopefully, everyone listening now has a much better idea of how to make discipline feel easier instead of fighting with yourself every single day.
Exactly. So remember, start small, make it easy, celebrate your wins, and keep showing up. You don't need perfect discipline. You just need consistent progress.
And now it's your turn. Choose one tiny habit today and start your 7-day challenge. And please don't wait until Monday. We all know how that story ends.
If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to Personal Growth Talks podcast. Leave a like and share this episode with someone who needs a little more discipline in their life.
And remember, your future self is watching what you do today.
Take care, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next episode.